If human cloning became reality, a person could create his own younger identical twin. The prospect conjures up visions of a dozen identical prize athletes or 100 facsimiles of some movie screen goddess. Human cloning, however, is not yet upon us. When biologists tried to use on mammals cloning methods developed for salamanders and frogs, they encountered formidable obstacles. Mouse or human eggs are delicate specks, much smaller than axolotl eggs. The operations of microsurgery can easily damage them. Dr. Clem Markert of Yale University is a pioneer in cloning research. His latest achievement is the creation of a mouse which has 6 parents. Starting with 3 pairs of normally mated mice, each with different coat color, Dr. Markert produced a 3-colored patchwork female. This laboratory miracle was performed by putting together embryonic cells from the 3 matings. After joining, the cell groups synchronize, develop normally, and become 1 mouse instead of 3.
No one has ever cloned a mammal, but a few individuals at least have tried. And we're trying to develop the techniques for cloning mice right now. And there are 2 different methods that we can use in attempting to clone mice, both of which involve a kind of microsurgery on mouse eggs.
The process begins with a female whose eggs have been fertilized in the normal way. Her eggs are collected and prepared for microsurgery. At this early stage, genetic material from egg and sperm have not yet mixed. The mother's and father's genes are in 2 distinct sacs called pronuclei. Dr. Markert deftly removes one of the pronuclei. Incubated in a special chemical, the remaining pronucleus replicates, restoring the normal amount of genetic material to the egg. It can now develop like any other mouse egg. A technician inserts the egg into the womb of a mouse who will bring it to term. When born, it will be a new type of animal, a female mouse descended from only 1 parent. But if the same steps were carried out for the next generation, science would produce cloned mice.
If we repeat the procedure, then we would make clones of mice. And there's no technical or biological barrier to doing that right now.
Experiments with single-parent mice are continuing. Within a few years, Dr. Markert expects the first cloned female mice to be made by this indirect technique. If cattle could be cloned by first making single-parent cows, the economic gain would be enormous. Dairy farmers could build whole herds of identical prize cows. Unlike humans, however, these animals have been bred to eliminate genetic defects.
Human beings all carry a substantial burden of what we call recessive lethal genes, which if present in duplicate would cause us to die. So that if you began with a human egg and treated it the way we do the mouse egg, instead of it living and developing, it would surely die in nearly every case.
Scientists, however, are working on another way to clone mammals, a method like that used to clone axolotl embryos.
The second method involves putting a nucleus into the egg after you've previously taken its own nucleus out. This is more difficult. I can do this mechanically. I can insert the nucleus all right. The egg seems to heal up, but none of these have ever developed.
What Dr. Markert is trying to do for the mouse has not yet been done for the axolotl. To begin with body cells from an adult animal and make an adult clone. The successful experiments with frogs and salamanders all begin with tadpoles and embryos, not adults. No adult animal has ever been cloned. But even if this barrier is hurdled, the road to human cloning presents obstacles of its own.
The technical and logistic problems would be enormously magnified. I work with dozens or hundreds of mouse eggs, now most of which are going to die. To try to do anything like that with human beings would be very difficult. The notion of cloning, especially cloning human beings, certainly agitates people. If one were successful in cloning, say, an adult man, all you would in effect do would be to produce an identical twin of that man, but of a very different age. Now, there are thousands of identical twins walking around on the surface of the Earth. They all constitute small clones. And to produce another set of identical twins of different age doesn't seem to me to be anything that should agitate people.
Identicals, however, may be more special than we realize.
Even if we were thousands of miles apart, I could feel something coming on. I'd pick up the phone and my answer would be right there. And Sister would have her, she'd be ill or in some kind of trouble. And we can always feel this.
Color.
We can read each other's minds. It's very strong, very strong.
I think that they have the same brain thoughts, same waves. They come up with the same answers. I really believe that they think about each other the same thought at the same time.
If there were 4 or 5 or 6 of us, seeing that we twins are double power, it would have been just absolutely marvelous.
I think 4 or 6 would be a veritable landslide. But we'd have a veritable clinic, and we'd have the whole town to ourselves, probably. I'm not too worried about negative results from cloning. Yeah, I think it's a good thing that we are able to improve the human race, if you will, and improve certain characteristics maybe that are desirable and eliminate undesirable individuals and characteristics, even though it may sound a little dangerous depending on who calls the shots.
Many people are afraid that if cloning of human beings became possible, that the government would direct the process and produce individuals to the government's taste. What governments are interested in is the adult personality. And if you were to clone individuals, you'd still just begin with a group of children, with the same genetic makeup as some preceding generation of adults, but you'd still have exactly the same problems of trying to discipline them, educate them, change them, or make them into the kind of adults you wanted to make them into. One of the reasons why many people are very worried about the possibility of cloning human beings is that they suffer from the illusion that genes determine character. And that's just not true.
Dr. Markert and Associates are continuing attempts to clone mice. Their progress manipulating eggs has attracted new researchers to the field, multiplying the chances of success. The cloning of human beings could soon be within reach. If human cloning comes, serious questions will have to be faced. Who will be singled out for duplication? Who will decide how many copies to make? Geneticists believe that intelligence is in part inherited. By cloning talented individuals, society could boost the mental power of the species. It is a prospect at once frightening and tantalizing. Whether used wisely or not, cloning could profoundly alter our destiny in the universe. If achieved, cloning would create genetically identical individuals. But if cloning became a common method of human reproduction, certain types might be overbred, and variety is essential to the survival and evolution of a species. Unless carefully controlled, cloning could potentially lead us toward evolutionary disaster.